Okay, welcome to Trimming Musical Fat, the podcast where we trim albums that are too damn long, and welcome to this, a bit of a bonus type episode really, because myself and my two guests, Ross and Davie, over the last two shows we've been looking at, we're getting your best side there, Ross.
Sorry.
Getting a view of your crotch there, Ross. I didn't realise you wanted to turn it into that kind of podcast episode, but there you go.
Podcast.
The fans only episode, is it?
Fans only.
So we're doing this, and we're all huge Radiohead fans, and we're just getting together to share what our favourite Radiohead albums are. So Radiohead have released, I think, 9 studio albums, and we're going to try and put them into our order of preference and try not to argue and disagree over it. So yeah, it should be fun. So Ross, I'll maybe start with you. I think it might just be easier if you give us your preference, from 9 down to 1, and with maybe just a couple of lines as to why you've put each album where you have.
91. So number 9 would be Pablo Honey. Don't have any surprise with that. It's probably one of the ones where it's like a solid debut, as some bands do. They would do a solid album. There's some good tunes on it. Anyone can play guitar. There's a couple of other ones are pretty good, decent, but they wouldn't get on the bends. So kind of standard indie fare, and then you've also got Creep, which is just a great tune, which could easily be on the bench, and we just enhance it. Great tune. Was a great tune. Number 8 would be Moonshaped Pool. Now, it's an album that I've probably grown to like a bit more. But even going back to listening again, it's okay. I just find it a wee bit of a kind of boring album. It's just doesn't quite get going for me. And it probably typifies it that the True Love Waits at the end, which I love, and everybody who's a Radiohead fan will know the live version from I Might Be Wrong, which is tremendous, but it's just Tom York with a guitar. It's a bit underwhelming, and I think that kind of maybe sums up the album. So it's got a great first track, Burn the Witch. After that, there's some great tunes in it, but it's lacking, I think, for me in terms of quality. So that would be number 8. Number 7, and again, this is obviously based on what I like, not necessarily the quality of the album, but what I like. The number 7 would be Amnesiac. So 7 would be Amnesiac, and mainly the Amnesiac is another one where it's hard to love, and I never liked it when I first bought it. I remember buying it on a 10-inch record and never heard the album before, and then stuck it on. I just find this is something the most depressing album ever, and I think I'm going to like it. I don't probably love it, but there's some brilliant tunes in it. But again, there's some filler in it, so it's a bit of a mixed bag. But musically, it's brilliant because it's very different. So I think musically it would be up there towards the top, but probably not enough for me in terms of just because experimental doesn't mean it's necessarily their best album. So that would be number 7. Number 6 would be King of Limbs. And probably it's a strength of maybe 4 songs on the album. So you've got Lotus Flower, Codex, which I absolutely love, and Give Up the Ghost, and Separator. So I think it's probably the last 4 tracks. So it's obviously a mini album, but I just think these songs are just terrific. So I've always kind of had a soft spot for King of Limbs. It's not great, but it's got enough good tunes on it. It's maybe more a kind of maybe than an album. But the songs are I mean, Give Up the Ghost is just one of these songs where it's not really that well known, and it's one that really grew me over time, and now it's be up there as one of my favourite Radiohead songs. Just tremendous. Great at what they're doing. So Hail the 3 would be number 5. And this is, again, got some tremendous tracks in it. 2 + 2 = 5. There, Wolf at the Door, Mixomatosis, completely mad track. But it's got some filler in it as well. I think it's 14 tracks, probably too many. Could definitely trimmed it down a bit. We made it a tighter and better album. But again, some great tunes in it, and they're great. great guitar songs in it as well. Felt maybe going back towards from where they were coming from with Kiddy and Amnesia. So but mainly a brilliant album, but some great tracks, some filler. So that's number 5. Number 4 would be Kiddy. Tremendous album as well. Got a couple of songs on those mad ones, so it's not really the complete album, but again, just musically taking on from OK Computer and great tunes on it as well, like Everything in Its Right Place, which we all know and love. Idiotech, again, taking the experimentation a bit further as what a guitar band can do. And obviously, clearly, when it did come out, people were probably thinking, "What the hell are they doing?" Because it was obviously a further experimentation of what OK Computer was. But now you look back on it and say that was the right move to do. That's what they did. So, yeah, superb album. And then so this is it. Drum roll, the top 3. So number 3 would be OK Computer. If you're basing on musicality out of the top 3, then this would be number 1, right? So it's clearly, and I've got no qualms with people saying this is the best album of all time. Musically, it's stronger than the other 2 that I'm going to pick. But I've got a kind of story probably with the other 2. And I think it's probably took me a bit of time to come around to actually buying it in the first place. I remember the singles and maybe not quite, wasn't really where I was at the time musically. I was probably still an Oasis fan and their sort of standard indie fare. This was completely different. I mean, this completely it changed the whole landscape, I would say. And there's not too many albums that do that. This definitely did that. And I think it inspired bands and artists, but also maybe got other bands to start to think, well, maybe we should be doing something exciting and doing something different and breaking the same ground every time. So yeah, it's a great album. But it's my number 3. But again, there's nothing in it between the top 3. There is absolutely nothing in it. I think that's why they are probably are the greatest band, because they've got 3 classic albums. Can't say that with every band or artist, but they've got 3 absolute stone cold classics. So that's number 3. Number 2 is In Rainbows. And probably, I mean, In Rainbows, I just think it's just a complete album. It's 10 tracks. I love it from start to finish. But that was the album that got me back into Radiohead, because I kind of liked the bands, and then that was it, and I kind of faded away from them. And then I got this, I think, as a birthday present. And I remember before it came out, they were selling it for you could pay what you wanted for it. So you could pay like for a penny or £10 or whatever it was. So obviously there was a bit of hype around it, and it was a bit of almost like a bit of a publicity stunt. But it's just an album that's got a kind of warmth to it, great tunes throughout, different styles, and it's just one of the ones where it's never kind of dated or grown old.
How much did you pay for it?
That's what I was going to ask.
Was that?
How much did you pay for it?
Well, what's I paid for it? Well, I didn't. It was a birthday present, but I would have paid. I would have paid.
They
I would
paid
have
10 pence.
Did they? 10 pence. Best 10 pence ever spent. So that's number 2, and number 1 is the Bends. Because again, it's the first album I bought, but it's still for me, maybe it's almost like a first love. It's just I just still love it. Musically, yeah, it's not as maybe dynamic as the other 2 albums, and Rainbows and OK Computer, but still, yeah. And it's got a bit that kind of that rawness in the guitar, and maybe a bit more in the production that I still love. And it's not dated either. So yeah, that's my 921. I'm sure you guys will be different.
Number 9 would be Pablo Honey, and it's not because it's not a great album. It's I hadn't really. It wasn't one that I'd heard originally. I think I'd listened to the Bends before actually getting round to picking up Pablo Honey. But it's got probably one of the greatest Radiohead songs on there, and it comes out quite often in karaoke with myself. It was the song that made me fall in love with them in the first place, which was great. and I think the band kind of disowned it for a bit, but they've gradually brought it back into their set lists as well, so I think they do like it as well. But there are some good songs on there, like you said, like You and Anyone Can Play Guitar. There's some good stuff on there, but as a complete album, it's not quite there yet, and we'll come back to when it did hit in with them. But yeah, number 8 would probably be again, it's a moon-shaped pool, and only because probably the most recent one, and not one that I've listened to too much since it came out. I put it on, I think it's just the way people listen to music changed over the years. Like, people don't really listen to albums anymore, you just maybe pick out certain songs and then skip or then move on, or just listen to compilations or re-listen to old albums. So it's not like one that really sticks out. But what I would say, like, it has been like rediscovered live for me, like watching the live versions of the songs when they were releasing like a concert a week during lockdown. So a lot of the songs started to come alive again, and let me just kind of think of a couple. Well, Burn the Witch was a great song anyway, but when they're doing stuff like Full Stop and Identikit live, they just really come alive compared to what they are on the album. Like the whole band influence shown on the stage, but unfortunately something's got to come out. So I would say that, just because it's not one that I had listened to too much, but even just listening to it today, I went, that's a really good album, but it deserved a lot more respect than we're giving it. I think Amnesia would be number 7. I think that it's like, we were in that time where, coming off the back of OK Computer, we were all buzzing for their next albums coming out for Radiohead, and then when they said they were doing the double release, or like with 6 months space in between them, we were like, here we go, we're getting 2 for the price of 1. And Kid A itself was really good. It sort of kind of lived up to the hype. And then this album came out, which it was a lot bit more low key than what we had with Kid A. I think revisited in your previous podcast where we tried to make a supercut of the best of the 2 albums, I think I tended to pick more songs from Kid A than I did from Amnesia. That's not to say it's a bad album. It's got some great songs on there. I mean, like Pyramid Song I really liked, and Life in a Glass House is probably one of my favourite closing tracks as well. But I'd be toiling to pick any other songs off it. I might be wrong, I think, is one of the ones I like on that one. But the rest of it's, I don't. I think if I listen to Moonshaped Pool more, I'll probably put that above this, to be fair. But there we are with that. After that, now we're getting into, like, Ross was right, The King of Limbs. I really like that one. I'm not sure if because I think I bought the sort of like the box set with the records, and there are lots of stuff in there. I think it might still be sealed, so I never opened it at any point. I was kind of trying to keep it as a collector item to maybe sell it when they all die in like 10, 20 years' time. No, the song in itself, it was a bit of a change in style again for them, which was always good to hear, because they're not just banging out the same stuff, but songs little by little, and that no matter how many times I see a magpie, I will always sing "Good Morning, Mr. Magpie" to it. How are you today? But it's got some good bloom separator. They're all good songs in their own right, but they're not really hitting the heights that they've had in other ones. But I think they're certainly better than Pablo Honey and Amnesia. Where would you go after that? Kid A, yeah. So again, that was a much anticipated release from them, and fair, it is really good, and it's got some great songs, include like Everything in Its Right Place. I mean, I always remember that was used at the start of the Tom Cruise film. What was it? Vanilla Sky, that's the one. And Times Square being empty and then playing this one. And it's been got a new lease of life, being used to good effect in The Day of the Jackal, which just come out. I really like the use of it in there. But it's got some really great songs. I like the national anthems, brilliant, optimistic, idiotic. There's some really great songs. And maybe I would say 3 or 4 of them aren't quite up to the top standard, top tier Radiohead, but certainly half the album is. If you cut it to just a 6-song extended EP, it would be probably one of the best things going. But there's some songs on there that just aren't quite hitting the heights of what we had before. Hail to the Thief would be in 4th place now. I really like this album. I think the opening song 2+2=5 is incredible. I love the way it comes in before, like the intro, and then it just goes hells for bells towards the end. It's brilliant. Other great songs on in there. We've got the singles there. I really like Where I End and You Begin. A Punch Up at a Wedding. They're all great songs. There's lots of great stuff on there, and it was like a welcome return to form after Kiddie and Amnesia, getting a bit more guitar music in there, which was missing quite a lot from the previous 2 albums. So it's sort of like a return to form for them, in my opinion. This is where it gets really tough, and this is when I start to disagree with Ross, but only in a friendly way. I think the 3rd place, I mean, it's hard to pick between the 2nd and 3rd, but I've gone with In Rainbows as my 3rd choice. Again, this is a proper Radiohead album in terms of it's really is top tier. The songs where there's not really a bad song in there, if any bad song in it, but even just opening up with 15 Step, and that was just like, here we go, Radiohead's back. I don't know if you've ever seen them performing at the Grammys with the USC marching band. You couldn't get on YouTube for a while. It must have been sort of like copyright reason or something, so you would have to Vivo or something was used to have to watch it on, but it's on there now, and it's with I don't know, I believe they've got about 50 different people playing drums on it. It's absolutely incredible. If you can seek that out, if you've not seen it, 15 Step at the Grammys is incredible. Like the Jigsaw Fall Into Place is probably one of my favourite Radiohead songs of all time. Reckoner. Oh, there's so many good songs on there. 2nd place, would have to say The Bends. It was my favourite album of all time when it came out. Like I say, it's the 2nd album I ever purchased on CD, and I just improved everything from just learning about them from Creep, and then getting to hear that, like, who is this band, and like, this is so much different from what was going on with like your Pulps, your Blurs, your Oasis at the time. This felt like something new, and I think we've talked about it in depth in the other 2 episodes. So my thoughts on most of the songs are there, but yeah, they've got their singles are great. High and Dry, Fake Plastic Trees was my favourite song from the album. But in the end, I could only say that OK Computer takes the top spot, and I always remember buying that, and then the CD singles which came in like cardboard sleeves rather than the usual plastic cases. And as a 17-year-old, I think I was been at the time, it was like, this is like my generation, the music of a generation. This is what being an 18-year-old, 17-year-old was all about having your favourite band of all time. That was your band, or one that had been going about for 20 years before you were born or something like that. This was the music that you wanted to hear. And like going to see it live, like for my first ever gig that I ever went to at the Caird Hall in Dundee for £12.50 back in September '97, and hearing these songs live just as the album had come out was incredible. I think it just really changed the music scene as it was at the time, and the influence that it's had on so many bands going forward, as you can still hear it in quite a lot of stuff today. It just solidified them as being not only probably the best British band, but the best band worldwide at the time, and they continue to be so for me.
But number 9 for me, and I think this is consistent across the three of us, Pablo Honey. It's the album that's got Creep in it, which is an incredible song, even when Davie sings it. And it's the sound of a band still finding their way in the direction that they want to go in. So it's maybe their least interesting release. At number 8, I would have King of Limbs, which to me is kind of king of forgetting that there's a Radiohead album called King of Limbs. As I was making this kind of list up for ranking, and I'm thinking I'm missing an album. I always forget about King of Limbs, and I even remember at the time when it came out, it was just kind of suddenly gently released, and there's only 8 tracks on it. Yeah, it's like an extended EP, but yeah, I do. It's an album I never go back to, I have to say. But there is good stuff in it. I think you mentioned, is it Morning, Mr. Magpie, and there's a few others on there which are really, really good. So yeah, it's not without merit. At number 7, I would have Hail to the Thief, which is there's some brilliant stuff on there, but it's overlong. For me, a very patchy album. If for every one really good song there's another which is I can take it or leave it. Number 6, Amnesiac, another patchy album, and obviously what you'd mentioned already that we did an episode where we took the stuff from Kid A and Amnesiac and made one album from it. And when you do that, it's an absolutely fantastic album. But when you've got them split between Amnesiac and Kid A, yeah, there's stuff on there that, again, you could do without. But yeah, on Amnesiac, I think one of the songs you didn't mention, Davey, was Knives Out, which is a brilliant tune on there. But yeah, Pyramid Song and such, like, some brilliant stuff on there. But yeah, a lot of stuff which I can do, like Packed Sardines in a Tin or whatever it's called. Forget the name of it. And then after that, at number 5, I'd have Kid A, which for me is a more consistent album than Amnesiac. And I think Amnesiac's maybe a bit more all over the place compared to Kid A, which all the songs do sound like they should be on that album. They do fit together. Some great stuff in there. National Anthem, How to Disappear Completely. So, a good album. But again, there's stuff on there like the title track, which I can do without. Which brings me into my top 4, and these I all like a lot. So number 4, Moonshaped Pool. I like that more than you guys. And yeah, I think this is really, really strong. It is a more ethereal kind of sounding album with dreamlike imagery and such like, and mentions of water, and it just makes you think of like the cover, clouds and white and such like. And yeah, I like it. I like the vibe that it gives. It's a bit more chilled out. I do like it. Number 3, In Rainbows, which is, for me, that was their best album since OK Computer. And it's just so consistent. And it just sounds like the band are playing together again, and maybe less in the way of experimentation. It's like, right, let's just make a good album of good songs, and let's not mess around too much. And it's a really consistently strong album. And I think Reckoner is that must be in my top 10 Radiohead songs of all time. It's an incredible tune. Number 2, I'd have The Bends, which we've just talked about over the previous 2 episodes. So if you want to know what I think about it, go and listen to them. And top of the pile, I agree with Davey, OK Computer, which is not only my favourite Radiohead album, it is one of the greatest albums of all time and one of my favourite albums of all time. And I just think when I go through the track listing, Airbag, Paranoid Android, Subterranean, Homesick Alien, Lucky, No Surprises, Exit Music for a Film, The Karma Police, incredible. So yeah, number one for me. So gents, thank you for joining me today to rank those albums, and indeed for joining me over the previous 2 episodes as well. Always great to talk about one of our favourite bands, and I'm sure we'll do it again at some point in the future. I think Davie's just given me an idea for maybe to have a wee look at Hail to the Thief, or was it you, Ross? I can't remember.
Well, it's songs, isn't it? But I don't know what the length is.
57 minutes.
Okay, so worthy of investigation, guys. So maybe something we might return to next year to give us another chance to talk Radiohead again. So I'll pencil that in. So yeah, thanks for joining me today, and thanks to you all for listening. And until next time, keep trimming.
All right.